Welcome to the Milo Sweet Podcast, where you learn to achieve more with less by being resourceful and watch me occasionally get off topic. Let's get into the show. Did you know that you could impact my podcast by liking, subscribe, reviewing, and sharing? And also donating? You would totally make my day. Come on, make my dreams come true. Hi guys! Okay, so today we are going to talk about Meghan Markle, Prince Harry, and the new health series and interview I guess he did. I'm not going to go into all of it. I know that sounds so lazy, and it actually is of me. I like to challenge people to do their own research. So I'm going to give you a snippet of what I saw, and then I'm going to talk about it. But the lens that I'm talking about it isn't always exactly like fact, and I'm reporting the news. It's more from a why is this happening? What does this mean? And how to recognize it kind of thing. Because at the end of the day, I believe everything that people share or we see, most things create a teachable moment for us. Okay, so basically, Prince, if you have not heard by now, I think everyone's heard right now. It feels like the world is going super fast and holding still at the same time. It's a weird little setup here. So basically, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, is that still her name? What is her name? The Duchess of something with an S. There we go. Sussex. Sexist? Sexist. It's not sexist, but it really is not an easy word for me to remember. And I actually, you ever read something and you just skip over all the words? That's probably because we're not from England. We're not English. We're not from the UK. It's just kind of like, Duke and Duchess. I just skip over all of it. Sixes. So maybe it's just success. The Duke and Dutch of success, because they got $100 million deal. Anyway, they were part of the royal family. Didn't work out. They decided to exit, and they came over to the U.S., first to Canada, then to California. And then, they have a $7 or $10 million house, and they've gotten deals with like Spotify, $100 million deal, as well as, Meghan has a children's book, and they did this. Meghan's pregnant, and, they did this episode with Oprah exposing the firm. And then Harry has this 5-part series with mental health where he actually shows himself in therapy doing some EDMR, I think that's it, or EMDR. It's those words arranged differently. Look it up. Do your own research. I think that's important in today's, and I think you're pretty lazy if you don't do it. That's me. That's my view. I think do it because you might find something I didn't find. It may apply different to you than to me. Okay, the point I'm trying to make, though, was that Meghan seemed really upset or really hurt in her interview where she says the firm did not help her. She was super suicidal. So she just was, I don't know, it seemed like it was, to me, I think to talk about something publicly to the world, I would want to come from I've gotten through this, I've crossed over the bridge, not I'm still in the middle of this, right? So then Harry comes out with his series on mental health, and he talks about how possibly the firm tried to smear Meghan when she did that interview, and that she was like up on it crying. Mind you, she's pregnant, by the way, and she had a miscarriage last year or 2 years ago. She's had a miscarriage. She wrote about it publicly in some newspaper. And so it kind of made me think, like, at what point should we talk about things? Should we make things public? At what point should we divulge what's happening in our family? And maybe at what point do we have discretion and we get through those things? Because for me, as I'm seeing this unfold, and this is me, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychoanalyst or psychiatrist. I'm not licensed in any of those fields. But if I'm honest, I think there is a huge river between them saying we want privacy and us doing an interview with 40, 50 million people watching, exposing our family. There's a lot of ways you can express your privacy and freedom and have an interview without actually throwing your family under the bus while expressing your right to make a decision, expressing your right to overcome and to be a new person. And so for me, I feel like this is multi-layer, and hopefully this is like, I try not to make super long podcasts, but this might, well, I'm not sure what this will be because I have a lot of thoughts about this. So there's one level or layer, which is there's a royal family and there's someone that's not part of this family or part of royalty that's being married into. The second layer is Meghan's race. Although, I mean, honestly, that's a different question for a different day for someone else, but I don't know. The third was the level of how they were treating their biracial grandchild. Meghan and Harry had a baby. If you put the baby in a black baby lineup and you said pick out all the black babies, you never said that baby was mixed, I'm not really sure it would get picked out. That's just my view on it. I'm not saying it doesn't count and that if you're biracial, it doesn't count. I'm just saying there's maybe a way that they felt the royal family was viewing that baby, but then there's a way that the world would actually view that baby. And those are two different things. That's just my view. Now, I do understand that how people in the press treated them in the UK is different than how maybe they're being treated in the US or other parts of the world, and possibly it's different with how they view it. Also, if you tell me, hey, the royal family is super diverse, is that something that I would just be like, yes, let them champion all the black issues? No, it's not even something I would, it's not even top of mind, good or bad. But it doesn't mean that I would think that they're racist either. So that, to me, I feel like for me to know that, I need to see text messages of what was said about the little black baby, and I need to hear from the queen, and I don't even know if we'll ever hear from the queen. So that's one part. Then there's the part of having your husband get on TV to publicly do therapy after being triggered for going to see his family after their first interview. This is like a lot. And he traveled back to see his family after his first explosive interview with Oprah. And then he went, what did he do? Oh, and he said that triggered him because it was at his grandfather's, I think it was his grandfather, funeral. So, okay, then there was the other part, was having your wife go through these public things on TV while she's pregnant after she's miscarried. And then the last part to me was the whole suicide thing. If you're suicidal at any point, I don't know when it's safe to talk about it publicly. Because if you give an interview and now all of a sudden you're crying about it during your pregnancy because of the response and the smear, and you're up all night crying, and your husband saying that you felt that you couldn't come to him because he has too much on his shoulders, then maybe like take some of the things off your shoulders, even some of the things you put on your shoulders. That sounds rude. So from a parental perspective, I thought, what do I do as a parent? What do I do as a parent to actually, so as a parent, I think I would want to give my kid the skills to understand themselves, to understand the world around them, but to also understand discretion, privacy, and freedom. I don't think just because you have freedom for something, you should express it. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Then I don't think that you should display everything publicly. It's almost like just because we can film everything that's going on in our lives doesn't mean we should. And the third thing is when you really have true healing about something, and I'm not saying they don't, because I don't personally know them, but the way it's being presented to me, it doesn't come off like they do. There's an angle you talk about things from. So like let's say I dealt with some trauma in my childhood, which I have. There's a way I still would speak of the people in the traumatic situation and perhaps my parents, that there's one way I talked about them when I first discovered it. There's a way I talked to them about it when I was going through it. And then there's a way I talked about it when I kind of got through it. And then there's a far off way. Doesn't mean that it's far off meaning like time wise, but it's just a different focal point that says, oh, that happened. Yeah, that did happen. And it doesn't mean it doesn't bring up certain emotions, but the way that you're able to maneuver those emotions are totally different. So as a parent, I thought, what skills would my kid need to have? And this is something I'm still asking, so I don't quite have the answer. To be able to rise to the challenge in this situation and be able to dissect what that is. Then I looked at it from a wife perspective. Is there a time where I would feel that it's best while my husband's super fragile to put him out in front of millions of people and first talk about things that are so private? Like, I don't even know if anyone asked them. I didn't ask. Was there a poll sent out that said, hey, yeah, everyone wants to know the juicy details on this? Or was this, were they monetizing it? Or did they desire this? Because everything you desire isn't smart. I've desired some things, and then I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy I didn't do that. And then there's times I wish I had spoken up and wish I had said something. Maybe I didn't. So I don't know if this is their desire. But is there a time, even if it was my husband's desire, that I would have said, yeah, I want you to go out while you're super delicate, super fragile, super triggered, and just tell all your business, and also do the therapy on TV? Like, no. I would have said, I think I need you, just kind of like weightlifting. Like when people are like, I'm losing weight, that's great. Depending on your weight, the journey can be long. So I'm not saying don't document it. I'm just saying there might be some days where you don't feel like you're going to conquer it, and you just have to get up there and get it anyway. And it seems like that it's great to document it, but that could also, for some people, put more strain on your relationship. So as a couple, like when, and there's times where you shouldn't keep things private, where it's too much to bear. But what is that middle ground? Because I could see so many other options where they could have got on stage. I mean, I guess I'm assuming it's a stage. It was one was outdoor, one looked like it was a studio when they filmed it. But it's like they could have gotten on stage. I keep calling it a stage. It just feels like a stage. They could have gotten on stage and like basically just talked about what they want to do, the freedom that they have, dreaming together, being in love, talking about strengthening each other and being there for each other. I mean, to me, at a time during Corona where people are struggling and actually lost people, I don't know. That's number one. And I've never been in a situation where I said, I'm leaving my family. Oh, I'm leaving and going to a mansion. And I'm leaving and going to hundreds of millions of dollar deals and jobs. Like, where does that happen at? And then I get to keep the title from the family. Like, give the title back. If you want nothing to do with the family, remove the title. Give everything back. Give everything and start over. Like, just start all the way over. To me, that's where I kind of question that. Then from a husband perspective, would I want my husband to allow me, after miscarrying, to go on TV and talk about these grievous things that are so grievous to me that once they're made public or there's a rebuttal, I'm up all night crying while pregnant? I guess for me, it's like, why? Why? Why not just be pregnant and happy and free? And so I kind of thought about that in a relationship is, do we allow our spouses, when I say allow, I'm not saying that you should like control your spouse. I'm saying there's times where maybe you're instinct or you see something and it's in the beginning stages and you think, maybe you shouldn't do that, or maybe that's not wise, or maybe that's not going to end well, but maybe you don't say anything. When do you say, hey, I want this result for you? Is that what you want? Okay, you want that for you? You want to have us healthy, happy, free, healthy delivery, enjoy this time? Then what's the route that's going to get us there? And a lot of times, talking about it is part of it. So I think it's great that they talked about it and they brought some things public. I think it's the manner in which you bring it public as well. And I'm not sure that, I'm not sure that, I mean, my honest opinion is I would have held off. I would say, you know what, let us wrap our head around being newlyweds, because they're still newlyweds. I mean, they've been parents. That's being a newlywed and a new parent, and then relocating and a whole new culture. And I guess from a wife perspective is, is it healthy to ever talk about your husband's family? Even if they're crazy, at the end of the day, he comes from them. They made him. They made him enough, the guy that you want to marry. Something about them worked, even the stuff that didn't work. Somehow you found him. And so that becomes interesting. And then your children are from that lineage. So whether you want to be like them or not, or you don't like them, it's a really delicate thing. And I think when you have so many intense emotions, I think go slow. I think move slow. So the last thing I want to mention from the perspective of a grandparent, I'm probably pissed. And it's not because, I don't know how they handle things. All their qualms with their family, Harry and Meghan, could be 100% true. I think some things should be private. And I think if you have the right to have freedom and to move and to do that, then express that freedom, enjoy that freedom, love that freedom. You don't have to throw people under the bus to express that. And you can also show the difference by showing that you're different. You can show the difference by showing people what you do and how you are. But if all you're talking about is all the bad things that happen to you, for me, I feel like put it in a book and then get over it. Because it's not really that helpful for me to keep thinking about what has happened to me. I'm kind of thinking, where am I going? Now, yes, you need to process things and reflect, but I'm not really sure that reflection is best in the form of millions of people, because if you couldn't handle the approval or disapproval of your actual family, now you're subjecting yourself to opinions of millions of people. And I'm not sure that that's the best thing when you're going through all these transitions. So what is the point of all this? Like this whole podcast, I guess for me, I thought the biggest thing I'm really trying to hone in on is the family dynamic. It's like, as a parent, what do we need to do to help ourselves and our families to be able to deal with these situations, like before they are full bloom and you have families being pulled apart. And I don't have, this is not really where I have advice. This is really where I'm showing a train of thinking that kind of helps you get to it, because it's going to look different for each family. And then where do we as spouses actually delicately, protect our families, protect our spouse, and really help them to get through these tough situations? When do we involve someone? When do we keep it within our family so that we can challenge ourselves and overcome, and then we can talk from a different perspective? And when does talking about it, what scenario is not okay? And then from the perspective of children, how should we talk about our parents and maybe you have a family that, a single family home, or single parent home. And so how should you be talking about your child's parent, or the other parent, or the father or the mother? How should you talk about the grandparents, even if you feel like they're nothing, they're trash to me? I mean, in what way should you really talk about them? Because at the end of the day, they still, from a kid's perspective, it can kind of feel like they're molding that image. They're shaping that way. So what is the best way? And I think if there's anything I can say from this, and this is something my dad always told me, he was like, if you're not 100% sure, like, chill. There's nothing wrong with going slow sometimes. There's nothing wrong with 100% surety. Now, in some cases, you got to dive in. But this is a case where it's multi-level, multi-layer, and I'm not really sure it's beneficial. And if at the end of the day you want to hold your family together, you have to say, what will hold my family together? What path? I'm going to put in destination, hold my family together. What path is going to secure that for me? And then I think from an individual perspective, if I've miscarried and I'm suicidal, where is safety for me? Where is that at? And those are things I think about, because at the end of the day, I would think that I would want the end. I mean, perhaps it's doing this publicly. I don't know. But for me, I think that would be the last thing I would want to do. I would just want to get better. I would just want to have like real joy again, and freedom and excitement and love. And where if I saw something on me about the news, something in the news, something on me about the news. Yeah, that's exactly how you say it. Something in the news about me, that was negative. I would want to get to a point where I'm not crying all night, right? I mean, unless it's something like you're about to go to jail for something you didn't commit kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, like the suspense movies, murder mysteries, like something crazy. But just like over that, I mean, because that's not, I don't know. So what do you think? What do you think the 20% from this is? If I had to pick, the 20% is really think about where your family wants to go before you do something. And if your movements are actually going to help do that. Because I'm not really sure if they keep going at this rate that they'll stay married, they'll stay happy, and things will get better. That's me. And I don't wish that on anyone. But I do believe that from watching it, I don't see them on the other side yet. Perhaps this process will help them. But if you're waiting on the public to help you, if your own family had a hard time supporting you, it's really hard for people who don't know you, don't like you, don't care about you. They'll sit there and listen to your business, but they're not positively impacting you and rooting for you and wishing the best for you. It's really hard. And it's very few people that'll do that for you. And I would much rather just have a few of those in my life. Right? And then I think the other part is like, what should our speech about our family be? Because we can actually cause more damage to our family than anyone else could, because we have the power for how people perceive our family. And at the end of the day, we're still part of that family, whether you wish you were born to another person or not. I mean, it is what it is. So my 20%, I think, would be, I was kind of all over the place. I would say just because you could doesn't mean you should. What's best for your family? And are you doing those things now? Right? In your multi-role, what's best? And not how can you be best? Let's slow down for a second. Sometimes the way you're best for your family is sometimes just straight chilling. Yes. Just sitting back, observing, watching things, looking and learning. It's not always it's not an active, or hyperactive role. It's a presence of watching and looking and paying attention. And I think that's key. All right, that is all for me. I kind of want to know what you guys think. If you want to share your opinion with me, you could go to anchor.fm/the Myla Sweet Podcast. It's anchor.fm/Myla Sweet Podcast. Know that. And yeah, you can share your opinion with me. You can also leave a review. I would love that. And that is all. All right, that's another episode in the books. Hello? I said it's over. Why are you still listening? Like, seriously, the episode is over. If you're still listening right now, you know what? You're probably a chronic procrastinator. Guess what? I'm still listening to. Come on, for real, seriously. We gotta go do something productive. No, like for real. No, for real, for real. Okay, you can keep listening.